Hello, Huskies, and welcome to week 5 of Distance Learning with Love. We are coming into the home stretch. Essentially, this is the final third of our curriculum. We're going to be doing short story writing, and there's a lot to talk to you about with this lesson. So I will just go ahead and dive right in. First thing you're going to want to do is take a look at your sheet for the week 427 to 5-1, and you will see the breakdown. Of course, you can manage this, however works best for you, but the final project will be due on Friday when you submit your finished short story. But let's start with Monday. It says to review short story mini lessons. I have those in a Google slideshow on Classroom. And then on Tuesday, you're going to watch Act Without Words. It is a Beckett play, Samuel Beckett. It's kind of eerily familiar probably with this whole quarantine thing going on. This guy is stranded kind of on an island, and he's got all these, necessary really kind of temptations, but they're all just out of his reach. And you're going to turn that play into a short story, and it's going to be really easy because you just watch the whole thing and there are no words. It's called Act with No Words. And you just figure out how you want to actually tell that story in words in the form of a short story. Then you're going to spend the rest of the week drafting it and submitting it on Friday. So let's go ahead and take a look at all these things that I just mentioned. You'll find them on Google Classroom. This is where it's a short story adaptation. That's where you're actually going to type your story, and I already have it formatted for you in manuscript form for a short story. All you need to do is type your name here. You can leave the Ritner information, and then where it says your email, do your Ritner Schools email. This can change, obviously. I don't even have a set limit for your story. Don't make it like 10,000 words long because that's crazy. But don't make it, 5 words long either, even though that's sometimes totally called for. As you will see, it's 6 words, in fact, on our lessons. But anyway, whenever you're finished, you highlight the story and you click on tools and you click on word count, and it will tell you the length of your short story, and then you just type it in that spot up top. This is where your title goes. Yes, I know that there's a whole bunch of white space here, but that's what it should look like. And you put your name again, because again, this is what a proper manuscript form looks like. This is just a reminder that manuscripts that are not formatted well don't usually get looked at very often. So you will highlight, delete that, and then just remember to start at the indentation spot for your first paragraph, because short stories, of course, it's like books, have paragraphs in them. Okay, so this is where ultimately everything will be typed. And then let's go ahead and dive into the lessons, which are also, again, attached in Google Classroom. Okay, so it's a slideshow. I'll go through it quickly, but here are the topics, and also you'll notice here that it says to take out a draft. Ordinarily, I would have given you a pre-assessment, but since we're not together, that's a little bit more difficult, so I'm just going to go ahead and give you the lessons, and you won't have to actually make any changes to your drafts. It's just you'll apply these lessons to your adaptation that you guys are going to write. So we're going to talk a little bit about paragraphing, dialogue and punctuation, details, concision, and then also point of view. So that's what all these slides contain. We'll jump right into paragraphing. There are a few standard times in which to make new paragraphs in essays and stories. Whenever you start a new topic, that one's fairly easy, I think, because you guys have written a lot of essays in your time, but maybe not as many short stories. So let's go over those. When you skip to a new time, if you go forward or backward, jump around, any time, 5 minutes later, you need a new paragraph, okay? Also, when you skip to a new place, so every time there's a new setting, you were in the house making dinner, and then you went out for the movie later that night, those are 2 different settings, 2 different paragraphs. When you talk to a new character, or when you introduce a new character, you need a new paragraph. Also, when a new person begins to speak, and actually you'll see on the punctuation handout that every time you go back and forth, like this person talks, then that person 1, person 2, person 3, person 4, whatever, person 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, they need a new paragraph every time, but you'll see that. And then also when you want to just produce dramatic effect, and that's something that you do in essays sometimes too, where you just have that one sentence standalone as its own paragraph. A lot of people do that just, for the extra added drama. So click here to read more detailed information if that doesn't make sense to you on when you need new paragraphs. But honestly, you could open up any book on your shelf, and you'll be able to kind of see and break that down. That might help you figure out how to format your paragraphs. Next, mini lesson number 2, dialogue with punctuation. Most effective short stories include dialogue. It helps us give a chance to give the characters a voice, help us get to know them a little bit better. And there are 2 kinds of dialogue: ping pong dialogue, which is just really quick back and forth conversation with very little to no narration. It keeps the urgency up and makes the pace really fast. So if there's some kind of tense moment, ping pong dialogue really helps to kind of capture that. And then there's also descriptive dialogue, where you add a whole lot of narrative details and give us kind of the in between, what is being said, the narrator essentially. Ping pong dialogue is going to look much more like your plays. That's actually exactly what they were, right? It was one person says something, then the next person, and then they go back and forth, right? Descriptive dialogue is really a lot more what you're going to be doing with this piece, because I want you to fill in the gaps between the dialogue with narration. So these are the attachments to kind of help you break down further what I mean. Let's look at the ping pong and descriptive dialogue. This is an example of what ping pong dialogue looks like. Now these are called dialogue tags. Tony exclaimed excitedly. They're kind of terrible and obnoxious. Once you've established who's saying what, every time the next person speaks, you need a new paragraph, so you don't actually need all of those dialogue tags. And really, if you add on the extra little like adverbs and things, it's just obnoxious. If they wanted to say something excitedly, have what it is that they're saying be more exciting, just like we talked about with playwriting. But again, you guys are going to focus a little bit more on the descriptive dialogue. So this is where you, as the narrator, will help fill us in with all the details that are going on. Did you see that? Tony yelled as he slammed on the brakes of his Mercury. Janet was nearly thrown into the windshield, but Tony's strong hand against her sleeve held her back. The bright lights from the night sky lit up the car like a neon sign. So just describe what's going on, okay? So that's kind of the difference in descriptive dialogues, which you're going to focus on for the piece that you guys are writing, because again, an adaptation is where you take one thing and turn it into something else, and you're watching a play, you're going to turn it into a short story. Also, there's rules for, quotation marks. I have that right here embedded in the lesson too. You can click on that if you're not really sure how to punctuate dialogue and things like that. This just kind of goes through. It talks about how to do that, and then there's a little quiz at the end. You just drop that into Grammarly, and it will show you where all of the dialogue should go. Next, sorry, I'm running through this because I want to be able to get it all in one video. Explode the moment. Short stories often do a whole lot of descriptive writing, and you can take one simple sentence and turn it into a whole big long descriptive moment. And this is kind of a cool website that shows you how to do that. It's called Telescopic Text. It starts off with a really simple sentence. That's not it for some reason. I don't even know what that is. What? I don't want to redo my video. Why is this different than it usually is? It usually starts off with I made tea, and then you click on a whole bunch of words and it becomes this big long thing. But for whatever reason right now it looks like it's messed up. Darn it. Okay, I'll figure that out. But anyway, the idea is that it starts with I made tea, and then it turns into this whole big long descriptive piece about making that tea. So with the water boiling and then removing the tea bag and etc. I don't know why it looks like that. Okay, but you get the idea. So explode a moment in your story where you really get focused in on it and give us a whole lot of details of what's going on. Mini lesson number 4, trim the fat. So after you do all that, usually the really fun part in class is when I tell you, okay, now I want you to cut all of that down to just the most essential part. What is the crux of your story? So cut it down to just 6 words, okay? Anyway, so that's another thing. Concision is also really important. You don't want to give all these details for no apparent reason. And sometimes iceberg writing, where less is more, actually turns out to be better for your drafts. Next, point of view. That's really important. So choose wisely. And I want you guys to either focus on third person or first person. Second person is where you're using you, and it's not really a novice move. So first or third would be best. If you're doing first person, you were actually in the story. So whenever you watch this act without words deal. You only see one person on the desert. Let me show you him real quick. He's actually like jumping for this water here. But clearly there are more characters involved because somebody has to be operating, all of these plants that come and go in the video. I'll let it play while I talk for just a little bit so you can see what I mean. And then they come in and they drop this box, to help him reach it. But then again, things that he really desperately needs are kind of also being taken away. So it's kind of dark, but it's a really interesting, deep kind of film. But like I said, there are no words. There's just music playing. So you get to kind of narrate what you see here. And do you want to be this guy, or do you want to be the people who are kind of operating on the outskirts? Or how do you interpret this? And choose wisely, and maybe even try a couple different ways before you decide. Like, and if you're first person, you're going to say, I, ran over to the box and put it beneath the water, and it was just out of my grasp, and then it left and into the sky or whatnot. If you're the people who are operating it, you might, talk about how, oh my gosh, look at Mike. He's so out of his mind trying to get this water, and it's so funny to watch him be tortured. I don't know, however you want to interpret it. But that's kind of what I mean about point of view. Third person is he or she. So Mike does this and he does that, and etc. If you never say I, if you don't put yourself in the story, if you're just narrating what you see the other characters doing, then that's going to be third person. And there's just a couple of examples here for you to look at. So that is it. I think those are the most important key parts of thinking about writing a short story. Again, you're going to write it here. You're going to watch the attachment. It's only about 15 minutes, but it's interesting. It's deep. I've had some really cool short stories come out of this piece. It also helps to kind of transition you guys from playwriting to short story writing and really thinking about what the differences would be. And then what else? Did I really do this in 12 minutes? I'm impressed. I thought it would take me forever. I think that's it. Okay, so in a nutshell, you guys are watching this little video and interpreting it and figuring out how to put it into a short story. Decide either to be in the story, outside of the story, that's going to be your point of view, and maybe even think about why this would be happening. Is this like a test subject situation? Is it all a dream? Like, there's a lot of possibilities with this piece. And then all of your mini lessons, if you need more instruction on how to write short stories, are here, and your draft is there. So welcome to short story writing. It's exciting and fun. I can't wait to read these. So take care, be safe, be well. Talk to you soon. Bye.